I think it was Kwame Nkrumah who said in those days that seek ye first the political kingdom, and every other thing will be added unto you. That could have been true in the 60s, but in the 21st century, in the 2019 and 2020, and where we are headed, that is no longer true. The truth now is that you must seek first the economic kingdom, and every other thing will be added unto you. Why do I say so? If you don't manage your economy very well, it is very, very unlikely that you administer the state well. Okay, you talked about the recurrent expenditure being higher than total revenue. I'm sure that our people are not paying attention to it, the people who are leading the state at the moment. Because if they are paying attention to it, they should have been able to begin to do something about it. Today, 73% of our revenue comes from the federal allocation. So it means that we have only about 27% that is internally generated. If you understand Abia very well, and you understand the people of Abia, you will know that that is a far cry from the potentials of the state. Our people are skilled, they are very hardworking, they are tenacious people, and that is the reason why we probably are where we are today, because people can actually government. And what I mean by that is that people can engage them and be busy and look after themselves even when government does not care about them. Now think of a situation where you have a responsive and responsible government that cares about the welfare of the people. Then you will know that this place will be Eldorado. Just take salaries, for instance. The government that is in place today, even though it keeps confusing itself and people with core civil servants and non-core and parastatals and all that. My point is that people who are working, government workers in Abia, some of them are owed between 6 and 10 months salary arrears. People who had sweated for this state, worked very hard, and gone on retirement after retirement age. Those are the people we call pensioners. Some of them are being owed up to 4 months salary arrears. That cannot be. I had even documented my thoughts, because sometimes when you don't understand how economics and the economy works, you will take actions that you think will support you, but those actions turn around to haunt you. When you owe people, you may think that the people that are suffering are the people you are owing only. Yes, the people you are owing will be suffering, but your economy will also be suffering because you starved that economy of the ingredient that the economy needs to move. The economy moves with money. If people do not have money to spend, that means that consumption will go down. When consumption goes down, that means that unemployment will go up. When unemployment goes up, that means that the level of insecurity will also go up. It's simple. The linkages are such that you cannot fix one and the others will not be fixed. I talked about this government paying salaries so that our workers can have money to spend. They buy all the things they require. And by the time they are buying things they are requiring or they require, people will now be producing. And that is how the economy works. Now, insofar as the productive base of the economy is working, then the gross domestic product, which is the GDP, will keep going up. But anytime that there is no money in the system, then you are headed towards recession. And that is why in economics today, one of the major ways to tame recession and to tame economic crisis is to pump money into the system. How do you pump money into the system? When you pay people salaries, when you pay workers, when you engage them, even if you engage them to do many other things, clean the environment, they earn some money. If it is 1,000 naira they spend, somebody in the link or in the loop will make 100 naira, pay you maybe 10 naira, depending on what your tax rate is. And that is the way, so the economy works together. But unfortunately, the people we have entrusted leadership in their hands don't seem to understand it. And that is why things are where they are today. Published figures according to National Bureau of Statistics is that in 2016, this government earned about 15 billion naira in internally generated revenue. That was 2 billion above what they earned.
Is that yearly?
Yeah, in a year.
Okay.
Yeah. That was 2 billion against what they earned in 2015. Okay. So if we extrapolate, then we'll say maybe another 2 billion at the end of 2018. That is too low. Why is it too low? It's too low because we don't even have a process that guarantees transparent collection of internally generated revenue. What people will tell you is that taxes are collected by cash. Sometimes those monies don't make it into the government accounts. They end up in private pockets. Now, the people that are appointed by government, some of them are touts. They run around, harass people, collect money, put in their pocket and all that. So, and that is why, even though we are screaming in this country, Nigeria today, that our tax to GDP is very low at 6%. Average tax to GDP in the whole of Africa is about 15%. But in Nigeria, it's 6%. Wait for that of Abia. It's 0.5%.
But it was said that worldwide there was a recession and it also affected Abia State. Dwindling revenue as accrued by the federal government. I mean, the revenue meant for Abia State as by the federal government.
Good point, but we must compare apples with apples. I'm saying that the average tax to GDP ratio in Nigeria, I'm not talking of what happens elsewhere, in Nigeria is 6%. So if you are an average state, then your tax to GDP ratio for the state will not be less than 6%. But today, Abia is 0.5%. So the statistics are out there. You can go and check them.
So how do we go above this?
Yes, and that is where I'm going now.
Okay.
We need to now think of best practices. How do you collect internally generated revenue? It is not by cash. You can't. I mean, the world has moved. That is number one. Number two, let's even talk about the tax. What is tax? I have defined tax as government's share of the prosperity that it has created in the lives of the indigents. So what that means effectively is that you are not entitled to tax until you have put something on the ground. And that is how it goes. So the first thing that you will need to do is to focus on massive infrastructural rollout. And it is not propaganda. The other day I was watching one of the national TVs and I saw an advert done by the governor of the state asking to be re-elected. And part of what I saw on that advert was the Osisioma flyover. And I was ashamed because I expected that is not something that we show the whole world. We've been on it for how many years? And so the point is that there is no proper management of the economy. First of all, you must put people who understand so that they can advise you. You must not be an economist, but you can get people who understand to advise you. The first thing that they will tell you is that you need to improve on infrastructure. Because if you do not improve on infrastructure, businesses will not do well in your state. And you cannot attract both local and foreign investment. You may spend the whole year traveling abroad, going to China, going to Turkey, going to India, and the rest of them. The reality is that they have more information than those of us that are here. And they know that insecurity is a problem in Abia State. When I was talking about it the other day, National Bureau of Statistics, in 2017, the number of reported crimes in Abia State was 12,408. 2 years before, when this government came into place, it was 168 reported crime cases. In Anambra, it moved from 358 to 1,888. So compare 1,888 with 12,408. So the point we are raising is that this state is not working. And the reason I had also documented that the fish gets rotten from the head. The reason things are not working is that the head is not correct. So, and we must change the head to ensure that Abia State starts to work. If we do not do it, this state may eventually get into serious financial and economic crisis.
Okay, another critical aspect of your campaign has been workers' welfare. You just pointed out now, and then social safety nets, and the state of some parastatals in Abia State. You have obviously criticized the issue, the way the present administration has managed that. And we're asking, with limited resources available to the government, you just talked about how the government can shore up its revenue base. But with all this limited resources, how do you intend to meet up with some of these financial obligations?
Thank you very much. Let me disagree with you vehemently on limited resources. Abia State is not poor. When you look at the numbers, you will find that we're a lot better than some of the neighboring states that are doing much, much better than us today. Look at Ebonyi. They don't have oil, so they don't benefit from 13% derivation. Look at Anambra. Look at Enugu. Those states don't have oil. So when you look at the numbers, you will find that we receive a whole lot more than them. So my father told me when I was young that what makes you rich is not how much you earn. It is how you manage what you earn. And that is what the problem is. Now, let's even assume for a moment that we didn't have money. So when this administration came into place, they received a bailout fund of 14.02 billion naira. Subsequently, they received the first tranche of the Paris Club refund. That was 10.6 billion naira. They received the second tranche of the Paris Club refund, and that was 5.7 billion naira. I understand the third tranche had also been received of 5.7 billion naira. So, some of these funds, most of these funds, we are supposed to be used to pay salaries. But what do we see? Stories upon stories. The first one, they said they wanted to introduce technology into verifying ghost workers and all that. Yeah, some of us felt it was necessary. And that was 2015. Up till today, stories are still being told. So it's not so much about Abia State not having money. It is about the willingness of the government in power to prudently use the resources of Abia State for the benefit of Abia people. Not too long ago, the national chairman of APC, the former governor of Edo State, Comrade Adams Oshomole, was in Umuahia. And he made a startling revelation, which has not been refuted by this government. Adams Oshomole said that the present governor came to him to plead with him to intervene, and that he confessed to having mismanaged and squandered the bailout funds and the Paris Club refunds that he collected from the government of President Buhari. And that what he wanted him to do was that he was going to guarantee that the president gets no less than 25% of the votes cast in this coming election in Abia State for his own election, re-election. It was said in the stadium in Umuahia, and it has not been seriously refuted. So I can safely assume that that is correct. So if that is coming from the national chairman of APC, then we know we are in trouble. It is serious trouble. So that salaries have not been paid in Abia. It's not because there's no money to pay them. And I have also given you another dimension. And that dimension is the economic dimension. And that is that if you pay salaries, then your economy will work. There is also something about security that worries me so much in this state. When you come into Aba, particularly Umuahia, which is the state capital, which today looks like a glorified village, by 6, 7 p.m., everybody has disappeared from the road. That means that this state goes to bed by 6 p.m. There's no serious state that goes to bed by 6 p.m. If you go to Anambra, and I use Anambra because it's an Abga state, if you go to Oka by 10, 11, 12 midnight, economic activities are bubbling. People are moving around the whole place.
So what is your master plan for Umuahia as a capital city?
I will come to that. The point that I was trying to make is that because the economy is bubbling and moving almost 18 hours out of 24 hours, money is changing hands. There is something that economists call velocity of money. Velocity of money is how many times 1 naira or 100 naira or 1,000 naira changes hands within an economy in a particular day. So if your economy is running on half steam, that is, you go to bed by 6 p.m., all the money in the system stops working by 6 p.m. So how does it work? You have 100 naira. You buy granite. Let's say you buy 100 naira granite from the woman selling granite. She makes 10 naira as her profit. She reinvests 90 naira, maybe to buy from whoever is supplying her and all that. The person that she's buying from also will make another 10%, maybe 9 naira. So the more times that the 100 naira changes hands in the economy, the more money that the people can make. And the more money they can make, the more they can pay you taxes, tariffs, and internally generated revenue will go up. So when you have an economy that is characterized by kidnapping, insecurity, and the like, the velocity of money will be so low, and the creation of the money, the ability to generate internal revenue will go down. These are simple economic issues. Now, your question, what is my blueprint about a master plan?
Because you mentioned Umuahia as a town that is not supposed to be, that is not presented as a capital, as the capital of the state. Like
I'm sure you agree with me because you live here.
I'm a journalist. I don't have an opinion here, sir.
Okay, so if you live here, you agree with me. The point is that Umuahia has not made any move to become the capital that is supposed to be. So we have a blueprint. I'll leave one for you by the time I'm done. We intend to develop Umuahia, massive development of Umuahia. One of the things that we'll do is to develop new towns around Umuahia so that people can expand, people can move out. And one of the ways to do it is to create infrastructure. If you build roads, if you ensure that there is a public water supply, if you connect them to the national grid, if there is telephone facilities, of course, telephone have gone wireless today, and all the necessary things. Umuahia that you talked about, when you just Google Abia State, or Google the dirtiest state in Nigeria. It's not me saying this. What you see there is Abia. We're actually the dirtiest state, according to Google, not me. So we need to clean the environment, and it's not rocket science. One of the governors in the South states, about 2 years ago, I went to visit him, and I was amazed at how clean the capital is or was. And he told me that he did a simple thing. He just hired several thousands of unemployed youth. He pays them 10,000 naira or 15,000 naira every month. And their job is to clean the state capital. He says as early as 4 a.m., all of them are on the streets, cleaning the state and all that. One other problem that we have here is waste management. As you drive through the expressway, if you're going to Aba, to your left, you will see the contractors are struggling to reclaim part of the road that had been taken over by refuse dump in the last couple of years. Because we do not have ideas on how to manage our waste. This blueprint that I'm going to give you, we have a clear cut policy on waste management.
But
and
Dr.
we can
Alex,
actually...
Abians
yes.
would actually, sorry to cut in, Abians would actually want to know your blueprint, your master plan for waste management, especially in the capital city of Abia State, that is Umuahia.
Okay.
How do you want to go about it?
I was just talking about it before you stopped me. Today, what we call waste can easily be turned to wealth. It can be turned to power. And I have a comprehensive blueprint on how to recycle waste and use it to power turbines. It is very simple. The reality is that we don't even have enough waste if we install turbines that are powered by waste. We are not able to generate enough waste.
So are you going to recycle the waste in Umuahia?
It doesn't have to be Umuahia. The waste can be collected into a place, maybe Osisioma, Isialangwa, or Hafia, wherever you think will be the most appropriate location for it. So it doesn't have to be the town. So you move everything. When Mbakwe was here, those who are old enough will remember Sam Mbakwe. That was one of the glorious times of the old Imo State, which Abia State was part of. They had a company called Sulo. That company had beans in virtually every part of the old Imo State. Every morning, they go around collecting these wastes and recycling them somewhere. Technology has now moved so that recycling waste should not be a problem. You recycle it and you produce it just like the oil industry. You'll be amazed that what used to be thrown away as waste from the oil industry today is recycled through skips, and eventually some of it becomes oil, some of it becomes what you use today to tar roads. So technology has moved. Unfortunately, we have rejected technology in Abia. We are going to use technology to solve virtually all our problems, including the waste management. So the point I'm trying to raise is that you can turn your waste into power. And first of all, for you to do that, you must know that it's possible. You must know where to get the technology. You can't reinvent the wheel. Somebody already has developed it. So all you need to do is to bring it in, get the people who understand it, get your people to understudy them, so that in the next couple of months or years, the technology would have been transferred and you have your people employed. Just managing waste alone can take about 5,000, 10,000 people out of the streets, people who are otherwise unemployed today. So that's part of the program that I have.
All right. It is the special edition of the program Politics Right Now here on Flow 94.9 FM. And it is a simulcast on Vision Africa Radio 104.1 FM, Pacesetter 103.5 FM, Voz FM 89.7 FM, and Flow 94.9 FM. And of course, it is live on YouTube on Flow 94.9 FM YouTube page. You can watch live. Anyways, we've been having this conversation with Dr. Alex Otti, the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, ABGA, in Abia State. We will go for a break, and when we return, we'll talk much more about his manifesto, especially as it concerns infrastructure and also some other areas. Stay tuned.